On My 11th Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. You're looking at a team that everybody loves to talk about, some love to hate, a team I've followed very closely over the years. We're looking at Australia today, and there's two Australias. There was one that turned up in 2017-18, where you sort of recognized the colors but not the performances. They were terrible. They only won 7 out of 28. They had 2-0-5 whitewashes. You looked at them and said, is this the side? Do you remember 99, 2003, 2007, 2015? Nah, they just called themselves Australia. They weren't Australia. But I'm not going to think too much about those numbers because Australia 2019 is unrecognizable from Australia 2017-18. And that's why in my list of top 3 teams at this World Cup, outside of England and India, I'm placing Australia in that list. Why am I doing that? Because first of all, I think they've put all their worries behind them. 17-18, I thought Australia were not sure of who they were. There was a lot of upheaval going on. Then all the sandpaper gate incident, then everybody standing up and saying what should happen. And that team was in turmoil. They discovered they didn't have the replacements. They were pathetic in Test match cricket. But now Smith has come back. The IPL has helped him go through that rusty period. He's back in form. David Warner's in fantastic form. And all of a sudden, Aaron Finch has discovered he can hit a ball. He's averaging 65 in his last 10 innings. He's hit 200s. He's got a few 50s. Usman Khawaja has come up at number 3, and he's carried the burden of the Australian batting in the absence of Smith and Warner. And suddenly they're looking a good side. And what it does when you have a top 4 like that, a top 4 of Finch, Warner, Khawaja, and Smith, is it leaves number 5 free to be himself. And that is when Glenn Maxwell is at his most dangerous. You tell Glenn Maxwell, you are a match winner, you've got to average so much, you've got to do this, and suddenly you've lost him. You tell Glenn Maxwell, go and have fun, and you never know where the match is going with him. So suddenly they've got Maxwell at 5, Stoinis at 6, Carey at 7, and just look how the batting just extends further down. Nathan Coulter-Nile, Pat Cummins, Mitch Starc, everybody bats. And they've got Adam Zampa. This is a very, very good Australian side. Remember, they'll always feel well. They'll always be plus 15, 20 in the field. And I think the arrival of Ponting to accompany his old friend Justin Langer in the coaching setup will make a huge difference as well. So if you're looking at numbers to judge Australia, don't even look at 17-18 because Australia 2019 is a very different side. What about the bowling? They've got 3 seam options, 3 really good seam options in Coulter-Nile, in Pat Cummins and Mitch Starc, and I think Zampa is a much underrated leg spinner. With Maxwell and Stoinis, they've always got 6 bowling options. At a 50-over World Cup, in those flat conditions, you always need 6 bowling options, and I think that comes through quite well too. Now, are there any weak links in that Australian side? I think there's one. Every team has one key player around whom it is built, and for Australia, that player is Marcus Stoinis. People around the world don't rate Stoinis very high. His performances aren't great, but he fits that important spot. He can finish strongly at 6, and he can give you 6 or 7 overs. Now, what happens if there's no Stoinis in the side? Who do you replace him with? Australia's replacements are Shaun Marsh. You play Shaun Marsh instead of Stoinis, then suddenly you're playing Glenn Maxwell as a 10 overs bowler. You replace him with a bowler, suddenly Coulter-Nile or Pat Cummins is batting at 7, and you're saying, oh, they can bat, but the bowlers are coming in at 7. So that Australian side is very well balanced. But given the fact that they have 2 bowling replacements in Behrendorff and Kane Richardson, I think that they'll struggle a little bit with the injuries to key players. What happens if Maxwell is unwell? Suddenly Stoinis is batting at 5, Carey at 6. Maybe they've got to get Marsh in. So I think that 5 and 6 is something that Australia will worry about. The other issue for Australia is that they rely so much on Mitch Starc, and he hasn't played a lot lately. In fact, if you look at those 4 key players, that's Warner, Smith, Cummins and Starc, they've only played 15 out of their last 76 games. But overall, my feeling is this Australian team will go into the World Cup with very little to lose. Not a lot of people are expecting a lot out of them, and that is when I think Australia are at their most dangerous. I have little doubt in my mind that Australia will make the semi-final. It will surprise me enormously if they don't.